Yay Networks.
Welcome to another episode of Plastic Surgery Uncensored. I'm your host, Dr. Roddy Urban, and I am actually really excited about today's episode. It's about plastic surgery marketing. It's the underbelly of promoting plastic surgery, and I am so honored, excited to have Matt Bartleson, the CEO, creator, I don't know what title you have today, but the brainchild of Studio 3, who is actually my own web design and sort of, what do we call you, Matt?
We are your creative digital agency.
Okay, creative digital is agency. So, Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Where are you, Matt? What city are you in?
I am coming to you from Tampa Bay, Florida.
Tampa Bay, Florida. Love it. So, Matt, how long have we known each other?
We have been working together for almost 10 years now. We're about to celebrate our 11th anniversary, and you were right around year one as a client. So it's
right. So
almost 10 years now.
10 years or so. And in plastic surgery, anything that lasts more than a year is considered amazing and unusual, because most of the relationships extinguish very quickly. They're created and burn out fast. And Matt, interestingly enough, you started your agency, Studio 3, and I was sort of at the infancy, one of the earlier or one of the first or so clients that you ever had. And the fact that you and I are friends, the fact that you and I are still working together is really amazing. And I think it's just, again, I think it's pretty unusual.
In the marketing world, it's unusual as well. I mean, anything that lasts this long is a good thing, and it's a good professional relationship. It's a good personal relationship.
So I thought this was a really interesting subject matter, because I think that the average patient doesn't really understand the puppeteering, if you will, that goes on behind the scenes that essentially creates the image, the brand, the persona of the surgeons that they so much love to follow on Instagram, online, etc. So no one better than you will know that. So what I want to start out with is, let's just define, if you will, the footprint, the online footprint of a plastic surgeon. What are the elements that make up a surgeon's identity, if you will?
Well, there's a lot more pieces of it today than there were 10 years ago. Let's put it that way.
For sure.
For sure, the backbone, of course, is the website, but that's also the piece that is the most easily controlled. It's what the physician is putting out there. It's what any brand is putting out there. That's their playing field. They can say what they want. They can put up what they want. It's best foot forward. Now, of course, it's also going to have a lot of information on it, but you have to keep in mind that's what that piece is.
So the website, the traditional website, which I don't want to say is no longer relevant. It's relevant because it's the cornerstone, but younger society, younger generation, I don't know if they pay attention as much to websites as, say, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, but definitely the traditional website, right?
Traditional website.
Okay.
Then you have all your social platforms, and that's usually the introduction these days. The introduction now is on Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok even. That's where a lot of the initial point of contact is going to be. And that's also still in the realm of something that can be, that is still heavily controlled and influenced, manipulated, if you will, by the brand. It's again, the brand's putting out content that they want, or they're reposting content. They're trying to engage with users, but it has the element of it's fitting into a social ecosystem. They have to provide content that the platform likes. They have to put out content that is going to engage. And they are, what a lot of things happen under the scene that may not be immediately obvious is that what we are putting out as marketers is largely driven by what the platform is telling us to do. If the platform is telling us that videos and reels are great, we've got to make more reels, whether we like making reels or not.
Right.
So you have both a give and take there of, well, yeah, that's the content you're putting out, but it's also being influenced by where the platform is guiding the user, and they're guiding the user where they can make advertising dollars. They're putting you where you can spend time.
Sure. So we have traditional websites, and then more importantly today, where most people, as you say, make your first point of contact, is all social media platforms, whether they be the Facebook, the Instagram, the TikTok, et cetera, et cetera. And then from there, we move on to, say, ads, right? That's
Ads and review platforms.
right. So let's go back to reviews, because I think review platforms are even more important. So then there's reviews, right? People are engaging or putting out or curating or controlling their reviews. What do you know? What aspects of that?
The reviews, I think by survey, less than 75% of people actually trust online reviews anymore. The percentage just goes down every year. But at the same time, it's still relevant. I would say the star rating is probably more relevant than what things say. If people flip it on Yelp and they see that it's a 3-star establishment, maybe less likely to go there. But it's still something people look. The sequence often goes, they see it on social media, they Google the doctor, they check out the website. The next thing they're Googling is Dr. So-and-so reviews. And they're looking at those pieces. So it's still a traditional part of the journey, even if it's kind of more at the end and maybe not everybody gets there. It's still a significant part.
So to me, the next piece of the puzzle is actually the gallery or the photos, right? So that is, although it is part of a website and part of the social media platform in and of itself, it's huge, right? Photography, or if you will, results.
It's where users spend the most time. From an analytics perspective, they're spending the most time on the gallery, looking at the photos. Oftentimes, with a plastic surgeon, more people visit their gallery than even the homepage. They'll bypass the homepage and just say, show me what the work looks like.
Right. Okay. And then what I had down after that was, so it's interesting. I had website, then I had social media, then I had reviews, pictures. And then lastly, I put in the whole, if you will, the advertisement aspect of it, which is really sneaky, because nowadays they're not real true advertisements, not a billboard. There are these promotions that sneak into usually social media, and they kind of enter your world without you knowing it, right?
For sure. Well, every platform now has an element of advertising, and they all do it a little differently. Yelp does it where if you don't pay for ads on their platform, they advertise your competitors on your reviews page. And the only way to make that go away is to pay them to advertise on other people's pages.
You mean like the mafia?
I mean, it's a full, it's bizarre, but it is. Like, they're the only people that do that. We will directly promote your competitors unless you pay us not to.
It's literally like the Italian mob that comes by that says, you sure you don't want us to help protect you in case someone comes to beat your ass? And you say no, and next thing you know, a brick goes through your window. Yeah, it's one of those.
No, it is, and I've seen 2 instances in the last 6 months, where even on Google, where unscrupulous characters are using a doctor's name to promote their center or their office. The doctor who doesn't work there.
Yeah.
Usually a doctor is more prominent than them, and now you're getting into trademark violation and copyright violation. Much less
hold the roll, man. Hold the roll. Don't get ahead of yourself. So we're gonna get there. So that encompasses a doctor's persona. So a patient in the past would call a friend. Friend would say, oh, you want to go to see a urologist? I know this great guy. He graduated top of his class from Harvard. Oh, that sounds great. And then you'd go see that guy, and you maybe, if you was in the late 90s, early 2000s, start Googling him, but that'd be it. Nowadays, a doctor, no one knows anything about a guy's training. No one knows anything about their infractions. No one knows anything about what their specialty is. All they know essentially is what that doctor puts out there in the world in these categories. And for the most part, it's very well curated. And so that is why people like Matt are super, super critical, because they can help promote and or grow really awesome doctors, or help grow and promote really dangerous, unethical, shitty doctors. And so I was telling you before, you guys are like the lawyers who represent either the defendant, right? The person who's being defended. And sometimes that defendant is honest and and innocent, but sometimes they're a gang member and you're trying to get them out of jail. So the reason why I have you on is because you guys are awesome, and our theories and our philosophies are always been aligned. And so I thought this was awesome because you can help shed light to the listener, because I talk about it all day long. It's all bullshit. People are lying. You're not even a plastic surgeon, for the love of God. Let's be honest. You're some cosmetic surgeon who was an ER doctor, and you're doing liposuction. But coming from you as, if you will, the puppeteer, it makes a big difference. So let me ask you a question. So here are the areas where I have pet peeves. In the area of websites, as you said it best, you can write whatever the F you want.
Yep.
So I have never gone on a website where it doesn't say that the doctor is world renowned,
Yeah.
celebrity endorsed,
Mm-hmm.
and an artist.
Yeah.
Have you ever, let me back up just for people listening. How many doctors have you had in under your wing over the last 12 years? Plastic surgeons or cosmetic surgeon? I mean,
Total medical is probably over 200. Plastic surgeons is probably in the neighborhood of probably about 150 of that, 150
Okay.
plus all over the country.
So you have an incredible analytic experience of doctors, namely plastic surgeons, across the country and their websites and their content. So it's kind of like, more than anyone. So honestly, what percentage of the websites content doesn't say the following world-renowned celebrity and some BS artist bullshit?
It's especially in hotspots like LA, Beverly Hills, New York, it's going to be 100%. Everybody, those are pieces that almost everybody's using. I think that with plastic surgeons, probably better than 80% of them identify as an artist in some way outside of plastic surgery, and I've seen sculpting, I've seen
Sure.
painting, I've seen photography, and there are some who just consider their craft an art. A lot of them do. But it's interesting that in major markets, a lot of those buzzwords are just people copying this, copying that. I will tell you, the average time when I come up with a new idea of how to promote something from when it starts to appear on every other major website in the industry, I've timed it. It's about 5 weeks. It's about how long it takes to just get pulled.
The reality is that no one reads it because it's fluff. It's just nonsense. No one ever says, why do you go with that guy? Well, because his website said he's an expert.
No.
I read the first paragraph and they said that, he's really honest. No one gives a shit. The next thing is when it comes to online reviews, right?
Yeah.
You're not an online review expert, but why is it that so many people don't trust online reviews? Because it's manipulatable. It can be tweaked. So what are the areas when you're reading? So I'm an average person and I'm reading online reviews. What are the things that when you read, you're like, this is either a bot, an office manager, or what do you use to siphon through the reviews? What key elements?
Some of it's verbiage and some of it's how they write it. Anything with too many exclamation points, look for reviews next time. You'll see that in ones that tend to be manipulated, there's an awful lot of use of exclamation points.
Okay.
And a lot of hyperbole, a lot of just like, it's overdone. I just look for, is the person just telling me what their experience was about, or are they trying to convince me that this person is great? An honest review is usually one where they're just talking about their experience. I went there, I had my consultation, we did this, it turned out even better than expected. The recovery was this. Honestly, he made it a pleasure. I'd give him 5 stars. That's somebody telling their story. Somebody who's trying to convince me, you should go to this one. He's amazing. He's the best. That's the difference. And honestly, I don't know. I think that's probably where, the biggest top level thing that I look for. Are they telling me their story? Are they trying to convince me? If they're trying to sell me something.
I think that's incredibly well said, which is the distinction between experience versus promoting. I think that's really very, very
try to turn their experience into promotional, piece of it. I'm like, all right, you work in the industry like me, or you're somewhere like there. Like, come on.
So, and then the other part that is really tricky is photography, the gallery. So, because at the end of the day, all of this nonsense aside, what are we selling? Are we selling diamonds? Are we selling cars? Are we selling paintings? We're selling results. I made these noses.
Totally.
These are my tummy tucks. So even if everything else is terrible or everything else is amazing, it really comes down to that. So talk to me about Photoshop, photomorph. Can you tell? Is there a discernible way? Has it gotten so good that no one would know? Tell me how that works.
I think you've got two forces that help balance it a little bit, because you have Photoshop and these other tools getting better and better and better, but you also have a situation where the phones and the computers get higher and higher resolution. So that the better quality of screen you're looking at, the harder it is to fool. And I think that those are the only two forces that have kept this in check in the last 10 years. Otherwise, everything would just be a Photoshop bonanza and nothing would be real. So in other words, you kind of have a bigger microscope now. Even the phone in your hand has that. But that said, it's unfortunately, I think it's still very common to see scars that have been Photoshopped, and you see, the work itself isn't there. You have to look for, I think, the quality of the lighting. Is it lit well? Is it lit in a way that is intended to show what's there? I actually personally prefer to see galleries where it's not, this is a year post, op. This is the journey. This is where we are 8 weeks post op. I see a lot of that on your social media. And I think that those pieces are what give you the honesty and give you the reality of it, as opposed to just, it's all going to be great. The last thing that I want to hear when I'm talking to a surgeon after doing this for so long is, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine. I never have issues.
Yeah.
These are not real. It's just not real. This is the human body. You know what I mean?
So are there any particularities that you can, because you are obviously a digital guru, right? You've spent the last 20 years mastering the web presence, if you will. So what are anything in specific that you can identify on a photograph? I know, like, when I look at my niece and she has Facetune, which is so big in the BBL world, because the whole point of BBL is the distinction between waist and ass, right? So if I can't make the butt big enough, I'll just make the waist smaller. So it's really like everyone looks like Jessica Rabbit. Is there anything in particular you can identify? Like when you see this, it's a little bit off, or what?
Yeah, I mean, where people try to, make things a little bit smaller, where they're trying to clone, that's the biggest thing you're looking for. It's the cloning piece, where they're taking this piece of skin and putting it next to each other. You end up with slight blurs. So you're looking for anything where there's a slight blur around the edges that really quite shouldn't be there. What I also look for is, depending on the procedure, I look for where the scar should be. There should be some evidence of a scar. Scars are not invisible.
Sure.
They dissipate over time, but I look for where should that be, because that's what I see people most commonly trying to hide. They're like, it's almost, it looks really good. We'll just tweak it a little there. And, maybe that's somewhat innocent, but again, it's
not innocent. That's fucking bullshit. If your scar sucks ass, people need to know. So I think that's a very good point. So let's say you're looking at breast reductions and it's in an anchor form. There should be a scar, albeit if it's well done, light but present, around the areola, down the breast, and presumably in the fold, 100%. Even if you don't see it. So if you go down the middle of the breast and you see a little bit of blurring, chances are someone patched some of the breast color from around it over that brownish area to conceal it. And the way you see is, as Matt said, is just digitized. It's not sharp like the rest of the image. The same thing is true of rhinoplasties, facelifts, everywhere. Again, scars need to be. Do you find that people, in addition to scars, are manipulating shape or just scars?
That's what I look for to see if I believe they're manipulating anything, because to me, it's the easiest go-to. It doesn't mean they're not manipulating size and shape too. They are. But I know that if they're trying to hide that, that's like my go-to. That's the first thing that I look for.
And I think that's actually a very good point. It's like if someone is, stealing money out of a meter, there's a high probability they're going to be stealing money out of your wallet. So I think that's a great sort of entry-level marker to look for. And if you see that, then sure as hell know that it's bad stuff.
It's being done somewhere else. You know what I mean? It's being done somewhere else on the contours. It's tweaking to this. but that's the most go-to.
So you obviously have now had over 150 plastic surgeons that you have worked with. What have you been asked to do? You don't need to name anybody, but what are the things? No, of course.
Sure, for sure. Well,
what are the things that you've been very specifically asked you? Hey, Matt, I need you to do this for me. And you're like, what?
I have been asked to, I get very commonly asked to remove negative reviews, and I've been asked to remove them where they are brazenly true and the person admits they are true. I understand it's true. I want it taken down. Mm-hmm. I've been asked to Photoshop stuff. We won't Photoshop other than, adjusting lighting or cropping for consistency.
So you have actually, that's interesting. I guess I'd be a terrible liar. So they've actually come to you and said, hey, Matt, here's some of my photos. Those dark scars down the middle of the breast. Yep. I need you to lighten them up.
Yep.
Okay. Fuck, I thought they'd just do that. I thought they would do that before they gave them to you.
No, I mean, you'd be surprised how many people we work with are just like, well, I just have this photo and I want you guys to do the correction to it. And that sparks a lot of interesting discussion of like, well, we want to represent your work accurately. We're not here to spice things up beyond that.
Okay. So take down negative reviews, Photoshop photos for me. What else?
And to be fair, I've had instances where people are being slandered unfairly. That's different. I mean,
yeah, we're not talking about,
I did this wrong. Can you please make it go away?
We're talking about bad shit. Like we're talking about bad shit. Nobody wants to know about the bad shit. I want to know what nasty things.
We don't want that. People definitely ask for the, they want to adjust the photos and all the rest of it. I've been asked to invent reviews. I've been asked, can you just have, all your people like who have never seen me go online and invent reviews to do it? I had one instance where it was a cosmetic dentist who initially hired us, and then we declined to do service. We refunded it, and he had done a bait and switch on a Groupon where he had basically promoted to everybody saying, come in for a free teeth whitening or a cheap teeth whitening, but he knew that they were going to need a teeth cleaning first. So everybody came in, he's like, well, I'll give you the whitening for cheap, but you got to pay $200 for a cleaning first. And He got 280 one-star reviews in a weekend.
Wow.
One weekend. And he was just
the only way to get out of that is to change your practice.
That's what I told him. I said,
scratch. Rename yourself. Start over again. Do over.
Well, no. But you'll never. Then what he says to me, he said, "Well, we can't do that yet." I said, "Why?" I said, "Because I have another one scheduled this weekend."
Oh my!
I'm like, God. You're doing it again. You're doing it again.
That's a do-over. That's a whole go back to dental school. Start with a new name.
Start over. It's like there's nothing that you can do, you know what I mean? But and I've also had guys, I've had guys who are like, well, I don't have photos yet for my gallery. Can you promote me? Can we use some photos of general procedures? In other words, can you use other people's work? And
that's an interesting one. Young guys don't have photos, or people who don't do a certain procedure. Like, for example, if you came to me and say, hey, Matt, I want to start doing butt implants. I don't do them, but I want to. And I like to have a gallery, because obviously if you come in and you promote butt implants and you don't have any photos, who the hell's going to come to you? Is sort of the chicken or the egg. Could you grab some photos for me and just throw them up there until I get going? No, you won't do that. Okay, gotcha.
No, the only instances where that kind of works out is more for like laser procedures. You have, these are laser examples from Fraxel or Cool Sculpting, and you can use their clinicals and they're stamped that way. These are from the laser company's clinicals. They're not my patients. And you say that, the other factor that comes into play is, oftentimes you'll have, you have model images that get used on websites to promote the aesthetic and the beauty, and they're not the patients. And sometimes people have asked to represent it as though this was my fabulous patient.
Of course.
This woman's had no plastic surgery. She's 25 and she just looks beautiful. So you have to kind of toe the line there in terms of what is the level of aesthetic that you're trying to set versus expectations. And
well, there's a big difference between using stock imagery throughout your gallery to create a sense of beauty and then sticking it in your gallery.
Yes.
Where it is clear that is indicated that this is your work. I mean, you want to stick naked women in, lingerie throughout your site, knock yourself out, but don't stick it in your gallery, because it's clear that that's supposed to be your work.
100%.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. I have a whole bunch of other questions to ask you. Again, I won't ask you to name names, but I'm sure people are just salivating because I've been saying all this crap for, God, I don't know, since the advent of time. And every time I bring on an expert who is in the area of aesthetic surgery and they corroborate this, it's always so refreshing and rewarding because it just goes to reiterate that this is just the nonsense that's out there and it comes from all angles. So we're going to take a quick break. You're definitely going to want to check in the second half. We're going to talk about some of the most unscrupulous doctors that Matt has ever experienced. And boy, does he know them firsthand. So you're going to want to tune in on the second half of Plastic Surgery Uncensored. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Plastic Surgery Uncensored. I'm Dr. Roddy Raban with Matt Bartleson from Studio 3 Marketing. So Matt and I have been on an interesting crusade here, just breaking it down, trying to, as I always do, try to tell you the truth, which is to just be transparent about how plastic surgeons, and I use the word plastic surgeons incredibly loosely, all cosmetic providers, injectable nurses, the person who does lasers, everybody utilizes, facade imagery and promoting to create a persona that they are not. And of course, Matt is one of the creators of people's personas, but one that does so in an ethical and honest way. So, all right, Matt, let's dive in. Tell me some of the individual case scenarios, again, minus names, where you are just flabbergasted. Either they've come to you and asked you to promote them, and the flat out lies. It's similar to what we talked about. The other stuff maybe you've seen, but tell me what some of the people that you've interacted with that just blow your mind out of the water.
Well, I'll tell you, I learned a tremendous amount working with you. You're really the first mainstream plastic surgeon that I had the opportunity to work with. And prior to that, Studio 3 had no focus in aesthetics particularly. We probably had, 15, 20 clients, and we had a plastic surgeon. And after that, it sort of opened up a whole world that we got really heavily immersed in. But really right on the heels of that, I was introduced to a physician who works a few blocks down from you. And, I'll do my own little, poking around to see what's the deal and da-da-da. And of course, I gotten some information from you and I started to understand a little bit more, the board certified and the this and the that. I'll tell you, the first time that I sat down with you and I said, well, what's different about you? And you said, well, I tell an awful lot of people no. I said, that's intriguing because I do too, because I turn down an awful lot of business that I don't feel like I can do a good job for, that is something that I can get behind. Because at the end of the day, if I'm promoting Dr. Such and Such or any product, I'm promoting dog food and I know that it's bad and it's going to harm canines, I'm not going to sleep at night. So I start digging on this guy and discover that he's on probation, barely has a medical license. There was an FDA raid on his office a few months before.
So hold on, slow down, because I want people to hear this.
Yes.
This is a very prominent doctor.
Very prominent.
Down the street from me.
It would be a name.
So it's a name that everyone who does anything in in aesthetics would know. When you probe, meaning scratch below the surface, mind you, the surface is always what that doctor wants it to be. So when you scratch,
let's backtrack. This guy, when you Google certain cosmetic procedures, is number one on Google. He is number one on Yelp. He has 5 stars everywhere. He has 5 stars on Vital. He has 5 stars on Health Grades. He has A-list celebrities on his website posing with him.
So he has created an impermeable surface.
He looks perfect.
But if you scratch, yeah, which doesn't take, you don't need to be a CIA agent. If you just dig slightly further, you will realize that this is nothing more than Disneyland's facade of a small world. They're all cardboard figurines. There's no one behind there. And that you found out that this person's on probation.
Yeah.
Right?
On probation, nearly lost his license. FBI raid. And this is not stuff that you had to call some secret agency. This is look on the California Medical Board website.
The California Medical Board.
Just go to the California Medical Board and see, is he licensed? What's the status? read the documents. It's all right there. This took less than 5 minutes.
All right. So then you found out all this stuff.
So I found all this stuff, and he's got a doctor from South America who's not licensed in the country that's in his office experimenting on people. That's what the raid was about. They're literally testing procedures that are not authorized to be used in America.
Wow.
And this is in Beverly Hills.
Right.
And then I'm like, how does he have these celebrities? And I discovered that every celebrity that's there can be bought for a certain amount of money. These are all people that are there because they were paid to show up. Who knows if he ever gave them a procedure? I have no idea.
So these are all very, very important. So
it's a lot here.
I love to reiterate. So it turns out, and everybody, whenever I tell them these things, like, no, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do I mean? This doesn't have to be Venezuela for this to happen.
No.
You can be on probation and still be in your practice.
100%.
You can have your license suspended for a period of time and still be in your practice.
Yep.
You can have the FBI raid you, and unless you go to prison, which, by the way, many of these guys have gone for a period of time and come back.
Yep.
You can still be in your office. You can have random ass people in your office wearing a white coat that nobody would question, be there from other countries doing shit that you shouldn't be doing. You can literally pay celebrities to endorse you.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this happens in Beverly Hills. And then your surface persona is impeccable.
And I will say one other thing, and there's two pieces of that are particularly important for a consumer. Okay. One, the California Medical Board often removes documents after a period of 5 years.
What?
If you ask, yes, there's actually a statute. I had to look this up, that they're only required to keep documents on their website from disciplinary proceedings. If it doesn't amount to a felony, they can take it down or request that it be taken down. If you inquire and say, I'm a consumer, I'm interested in Dr. Such and Such, do you have anything? They will send it to you.
Why would they do that? It's not like the cloud runs out of space.
No.
What do you
It's
mean?
not.
You 20 years ago, you were a pedophile. Should that be erased from your record?
It shouldn't.
I don't understand. You have armed robbery. Should that go away?
You have doctors that will jump from state, one state to another, lose the license here, jump over there, get relicensed. Like there's,
oh my God.
I mean, I've documented hundreds of examples of this. I participated with USA Today in a whole study on it a couple of years ago, but it's a thing. And you have doctors that will start here and get in trouble and move to some other state where no one's heard of them. And you think they stop? No, they keep doing whatever it was.
Yeah, of course.
So here's what I will say, though, about the doctor that we were talking about here. The red flag, and the one that any consumer could have, should have, and today can see, is he is not a plastic surgeon. He is not a dermatologist, and he promotes himself as a cosmetic dermatologist. That's not a real medical specialty.
Is everyone listening? Because if you're not and you're shocked, that means you didn't listen to, I don't know, I have probably 4 episodes on this. Cosmetic is not a training. You cannot go to residency for cosmetic anything. It's ENT, orthopedics, dermatology, neurology. These are legit residencies.
Yep.
There is no cosmetic residency.
And a quick search shows that this doctor did his residency in family medicine.
Family medicine. Came out
better than I can.
decided on his very own that, you know what? I don't like family medicine. Fuck that. I want to practice cosmetics. You know what? I want to be a dermatologist. I want to be a cosmetic dermatologist. You know what, Matt? I'm going to be a cosmetic dermatologist. God damn it. And that's the persona I want to have. And then you can practice whatever the hell you want. And then it's on you, the person listening to this podcast, to go and dig and figure that out. If you are expecting some overarching enforcing body to protect you, you are a fool. No one is going to protect you. I can tomorrow deliver a baby if I deliver that baby in my own surgery center. The only thing that prevents me from doing a craniotomy is I have to do it in a hospital, and the hospital won't give me privileges. But if I can do a craniotomy in my own surgery center, I can do whatever the hell I want. And we have had many episodes on this subject matter. And Matt rightfully hones in on that. In other words, you should always be asking if the person says, I'm a cosmetic, blah, 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 blah. The question you need to ask is, what did they train in? And if it's not a legit residency, it's bullshit.
Now, if I may, I'll give it to you one layer further with the worst example I ever saw, which did happen in Beverly Hills, but doesn't happen to be plastics. And that was a gentleman that some of the research I was doing flagged for, he was doing neurosurgery. He was literally removing brain tumors. Now, neurosurgery requires more training than any other aspect of medicine, to my knowledge. I believe it's a 12-year program of some kind.
It's a 7 to 8. It's there. It's up. It's definitely up there.
It's massive. Now, he had done general surgery, but not any of the rest, which is many years of training, did some weekend courses in Europe, came back, opened his own institute. It took over a dozen lawsuits for wrongful death before his license was pulled. That's how bad it can get.
Yeah, number. It required many people
dying under poor care, none of which should have been there if they simply understood how to identify a doctor and his training. None of those people should have been there. And I will tell you, if you want to get back down into the world of plastics and all the rest of it, and I will name a name with it, and you can look it up publicly, is Kanye West's mother, who unfortunately underwent a procedure in Beverly Hills from a doctor who was on probation. Probably shouldn't have still been operating. And she didn't survive that.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's hundreds of such cases. So what is the take-home message? The take-home message is they need to have a residency degree in what's called an ACGME accredited program. So neurology, et cetera, et cetera. Then they should be board certified in that exact specialty. So here is the catch. I am an OBGYN. I got board certified in OBGYN. I no longer want to deliver babies. I want to do tummy tucks. So I magically over a weekend become, a cosmetic surgeon who's board certified. Did you just hear what I said? I am a cosmetic surgeon.
That's a great distinction.
I'm a cosmetic surgeon. I can practice cosmetics. And I'm board certified, except not in cosmetics because there is no such thing as cosmetics, but I am board certified in OBGYN. So technically I haven't lied, have I? Yes, you've been misleading the public and you have been misrepresenting yourself. So until such time there will be some kind of legislature, which there will not be, because it is a behemoth undertaking to force physicians to stay within their lane. Mm-hmm. It is on the consumer to do this homework and listen to what we're telling you, which is do not be enamored by the online presence of a physician as it is curated by that physician and people like Matt to create an unbelievably flawless surface. And unless you are willing to dig below that surface, you will be fooled.
You will. You have to poke holes. As a consumer, these are elective procedures. These are things that you're choosing. But you know what? I mean, as much as I've learned about working with physicians and medical professionals, it applies to anything. Any doctor I'm going to take my family to that I'm going to go to, I'm going to put those through their paces, and particularly when it comes to surgery. The downside, if anything, with plastic surgery is that it is a field that is so heavily now reliant on marketing and on its presentation. You know, when I first started doing this, I was talking to plastic surgeons who were saying, well, I don't even have a website. Do I really need one? Am I going to have to promote myself? And now in this day and age, it's table stakes, and everybody's out there and everybody's doing it. And some are doing it better than others, and some are doing it more honestly than others. And at the end of the day, it's up to the consumer to make a good choice and to poke holes in it. But there are things they can look for. There are these points that you've been telling them, not just in this podcast, but in earlier ones. So I can vouch for all that. 100%.
Yeah, and the thing about it that's so sad is in the past, you had to earn your stripes. It was a matter of years of experience. Yep. Today, you can literally graduate 6 months ago. And if you have a very brilliant Matt Bartleson on your side and you have some funds, you can catapult yourself ahead of everyone else with your falsified misrepresented ego that you're this great surgeon when you just graduated 6 months ago and don't know shit from Cheyenne, but your presence is your TikTok presence is incredible.
Yep.
And it just so frustrating.
Unfortunately, 80% plus can all be facade. You're really, that's why when you're talking about what really matters, you're down to the 10 or 20% that's either a lot harder to fake or that you can poke holes in. Is that gallery real? Does it have more than 5 photos in it? Where was the training? Did he finish the training? Is it certified? There are pieces like that
yes.
you can poke holes in, that you can look at, and you can go with. At the end of the day, if they're new and they're fresh out, well, okay, then that's fine. Have a conversation. Everybody's got to start somewhere. Maybe they're a great doctor, but it can't be misrepresented. It simply has to be, well, that's the case. And I know a lot of great doctors that typically still go that route where they're working with other doctors and they're growing their practice, and there's still that experiential part of the process that's going on to the point where they've done hundreds or thousands of surgeries. Like, that doesn't happen overnight.
It's all about transparency. That's the only thing I ever talked about. If you're an apple, I'm an orange. Let the consumer, let the patient know, let them make the choice. Do not make everybody into the apple when in reality we know you're not an apple. So it's all about, who are you? Where were you trained? What do you do? And let me decide. So last piece of this puzzle, which is interesting because it's tables turned, which is essentially you are in many ways doing what I'm doing with patients, but with surgeons, which is they're coming to you. They're offering you big money these days.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to represent them, and they want you to steer them to victory. So the question is, and my wife asks this every single time we watch a show about a lawyer who represents a known felon and gets them off without jail time. My wife says, how does that piece of shit lawyer live with himself? And so the question is, how have you been able to run your business for the last 12 years in a way in which it's ethical and you feel that you are doing the patient's service by highlighting the excellent aspects of physicians and not being misrepresenting doctors or being fooled by doctors? So tell me how because I know you to be a very ethical individual, hence why you and I are not working together, but friends.
Yep.
Right. So tell me how you've run your business model dealing with plastic surgery. I mean, I remember when we were
I've had some interesting attempts at it.
I remember when we were at, I kind of feel like I was your stallion horse over the last 10 years that you guys rode as jockeys to the Kentucky Derby. And I remember when you were at a meeting, and again, they'll remain nameless, and one of the more prominent plastic surgeons came pissed, screaming his head off. What the fuck? How come you guys keep representing this Raban guy? I want to take over his spot. I remember that.
100%. And that was one of those moments where again, it was, the old school, I've been around for 25 years. Why am I not number one on Google? I'm like, well, I'm sorry, bud. That has nothing, but being around for 25 years may or may not get you to the top of Google anymore.
I love it.
So it's fortunately, I was able to learn enough about some of these situations and poke around. I would say that I have, historically turned down more projects and more business than I've taken on. And that continues to be true in many, many ways. What I would say is that, there have been a handful of times, it's a big company now. We're over 140 staff now. We've been very, very fortunate and had a really great run. And a lot of that's been a heavy commitment to quality. And what I will say is that every now and then something slips through the cracks. The person is not really board certified. It may not necessarily be, somebody that we want to represent. And almost one for one, they don't make it through the design process. They're difficult to work with.
Right.
Things can't get done. Like, to a certain degree, we require that people also be professional on their side. So the whole point is, like, I'm trying to then mold and tell this narrative about this fantastic doctor in wherever, in Newport, in Portland, in Beverly Hills, wherever they are. And if you start to put the pieces together, it actually crumbles almost before it starts.
What is your vetting process? So I come to you and Dr. Smith and I say, hey, I was looking at Dr. Raban's site. It's badass. I noticed that your name's at the bottom of his site. Can you guys represent me? How do you vet this guy?
We check the medical boards. You know what I mean? That's the first place that we go to. We'll check every place that we can see that the guy's been licensed. You know, we've learned to look for the license jump and all the rest of it. We're going to look at the online profile as well to see, again, does he have 300 negative Yelp reviews from a bad Groupon situation? How do we feel about, that? If there is an online reputation issue, 90% of the time, there's some truth at the bottom of it. And that's not something we're going to fix. We're not going to, I one of the very first campaigns I ever launched was with a dentist, actually, not with a doctor. And the first week, he had 5 new 1-star Google reviews. And I called him up. I'm like, are these real? He's like, yep, I saw them all last week. I said, okay, well, we're done. Like, I can't help you. I'm like, good, we're done. You're free of, I'll refund your last month. I'm not touching it. Like I'm sorry, but I can't do that. Now that was a guy's first website. This was many years ago. It was his first round with Google reviews, but I'm like, I'm sorry, you got to be better. So we will check for that. We'll check for, depending on what we see, we might do a further background check. We might check for legal proceedings, you know what I mean? And things like that.
Are you guys representing anyone that's not board certified?
I haven't been through the entire list to confirm, but generally, no.
No. I don't mean but is that part of your requirements? Like, we'd like them to be board certified.
Yes, for sure. 100%.
So I'm not saying that if they snuck through or whatever. I'm just saying that's part of your criteria.
We want to see that they're board certified. We want to see that they're board certified. We want to see that they're in their proper specialty.
So do you guys represent any cosmetic yahoos?
We had one that I know that snuck in, and he literally, by the time, but we couldn't even get through the design process with him. I heard about it after the fact, and I was like, I'm sorry, but what's wrong with it? And sure enough, the guy was kind of a wackadoodle anyway.
Right. No, what I'm trying to get at is the reason why you guys are ethical is that you are selective. 100%. And the reason why I don't have catastrophic outcomes is because I'm selective. I always use the batting analogy. The most important thing in baseball is your batting average. And so if I swing at every single pitch, my batting average will be shit.
Yeah.
But if I only swing at pitches that I believe I can clear the park, my batting average will be outstanding. So it is less about what you hit. It's more about what you let pass by. And so it doesn't matter if you're a lawyer or a dentist or you run a web marketing team or you're a plastic surgeon. It's about knowing which individuals that you will provide service to, that you can do so in a way that is congruent with your business model and that you can make those individual people happy so they can be successful. Because, right, my success is your success. If I tank as a surgeon and you're sitting there, jockeying me, trying to finish the Kentucky Derby, and I'm just not making it, then you don't go anywhere.
No, and to be fair, those same situations are going to come up. They're going to have the negative reviews. They're going to have lawsuits. They're going to have bad online press. Like, it all follows if you start off working in a situation that you shouldn't be working in anyway. But at the end of the day, I have to look at this and go, okay, good. I'm going to promote this person, and I'm going to influence or try to influence the decision-making process of people. That's what I do as a marketer. I am trying to influence the decisions that people make through clever advertising copy, through images, through good advertising, through good marketing. And it's something I have to be able to sleep with at night. I have to go, I encourage this person to go there for a nose job. I encourage this person to get there. And a lot of what drew me into the field, initially working with you was, I kind of went, well, what's below the surface here? And I started talking to some of your patients, interviewing some of your patients, talking to your staff, and seeing that at the end of the day, this is so much about, changing people's lives in a great many ways. And I think sometimes plastic surgery gets a bad rep. Mostly what I've seen in it is I can't look at myself in the mirror and not cringe. I have this issue. I've had 4 kids, as my wife has, and those tummy muscles aren't going back together. There's so many layers of how people's lives improve visually, aesthetically, and all the rest of it. That's what you want at the other end of this. We're not selling the Playboy Mansion here. You're selling life-changing transformations for people. And there's something very positive in that. So at the end of the day, that's what resonates with me. That's what I want to tap into with it. And if I can't find something to tap into, it doesn't matter whether it's, fashion or it's plastic surgery or it's, dog food. If I can't find something to tap into, it's a no. And that's always been my gut. And I feel like no matter what industry you work in, you have to do that. With lawyers, sometimes they don't have the choice to say no. I don't know how they say.
Well, I mean, I think I'll wrap it up with this, which is bravo. Bravo for being an ethically, morally just person, because when you are that individual, you will then do the right thing. And in your instance, what you said is so true. You are ushering and promoting people to do things, and you take that responsibility heavily. And if the people who ran Instagram and the people who ran Facebook and the people who ran these promoting elements for cigarettes and e-cigarettes had the same sense of moral consciousness, we'd be a better society. And that's that. And that's just the bottom line. You can dice it how you want, but each person at a high level position has to ask themselves, is what I'm doing helping or is what I'm doing hurting? So I can say for certain you've done an amazing job, and we're really grateful that you came on the show, because we're always trying to add extra insight from different perspectives. Basically, we're always saying the same shit. Be careful, pay attention.
Yep.
But we want other people's perspectives, because it just, the more the merrier. All right, young man. Muchos gracias. Yeah. I love the background. I love the house. It's amazing. Today I learned the craziest thing ever, which is that you can just change the background with a push of the button. And Matt,
my contribution to Roddy's weekend here.
That's great. So you guys don't be surprised if next time I'm in the Bahamas doing my podcast. All right, guys, as always, this has been a fantastic episode of Plastic Surgery Uncensored. If you love the show, please go share something nice, write something sweet, say something positive. If you don't like the show, don't write anything. Don't be negative. Just stop listening. And most importantly, share this with the people you love. We hope that by listening, we have helped people direct them in to do good things. Anyways, until next week, I'm your host, Dr. Roddy Raban, signing off.